in case anyone was wondering what I would look like as a supervillain. But yeah, here's just a picture of Lunar D8 chilling and relaxing. But yeah, heck, like the comic Absolute Batman, this would be Absolute Lunar. But silliness aside, greetings one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. And yeah, this is a picture of how evil I am. This is me as a villain. This is the type of villain I am. But aside from that, does anyone else like to walk on bike trails? Or hiking trails or that? Like, I can't ride a bicycle, but I like going to walk on the bike trail. I wanted to go last weekend, but I had 2 days off for the weekend. In fact, the first day I was just too tired. I didn't feel like going. And the second day it was too cold and it was starting to snow. That being said, I did have a dream about being on a bike trail. However, the dream was mainly me walking on a bike trail. However, in the distance, you know those blow-up balloons that are like at the car dealerships, the wacky inflatable tube man? Well, or like the the Macy Day parades where there's like giant balloons. Like heck, that's coming up soon, isn't it? Like it's Thanksgiving, isn't it? When they do that stuff. Anyway, in the dream, off in the distance, there was a very large sort of balloon, but it was of an anime girl. But it was so tall that all you could see was the anime girl's legs and the skirt and all that. Because once you got to the part where the waist was, that was up to where the clouds were. Let's see. That being said, who out there thinks there's any reason for people to get married nowadays? Like, you guys already know, like, my circumstances in which I got divorced, and, well, that did not really. But at the same time, definitely got off a bit lucky compared to a lot of things. One, I'm glad to be away from my ex-wife and everything. But, like, I have a coworker, and he's like a few months or so older than me. And he got married like shortly after he graduated high school. And keep in mind, I'm 38. He's already like 39 something years old. Anyway, he was married for all those years. Has 6 children. He is going through a divorce. His wife had kicked him out of a place where they lived, or they had to move, or she had to move somewhere. I don't know. Honestly, I'm confused at some of the details on that. But, it's his life, not mine. But he was mentioning, like, he's having to get a lawyer. And just the down payment. And keep in mind, I'm not rich. This guy's a coworker of mine. So he's like the same level of financial as me. And he is... Just the down payment for the lawyer is apparently going to be $5,000 from what he said. And that's just, oh my God. And it's just, like, he was married, and like I said, I don't know the circumstances of why they got divorced or whatever's happening. But, I don't know. He seems like a real cool guy, so I feel like I'm pretty sure he doesn't deserve whatever's happening to him. But even then, like I said, he was married for such a long time. Heck, he said he'd got married and started living with his wife as soon as he graduated. So he has never lived alone up till now. So that's, though he said he's probably gonna go get a dog. So I told him that should work out pretty well. And I told him just try not to get cooped up too often. It's just the idea to him, possibly go for bike trail walks and stuff that he might like, stuff like that. And I suggested places I know of that maybe he can go, and also games, good video games to play, stuff to get his mind off stuff. But yeah, it's just, he was married for such a long time. 6 kids. And it's just, and I mean, just a $5,000 down payment just for a lawyer? And how much is like, and at the end of the day, is like, how much is he possibly going to owe in maybe child support, alimony, bank stuff? Like, it's just, I don't know. Heck, I wind up trying to save videos of some other people in my playlists, and over time those videos just get deleted. Like some people, it's just there are certain videos. I remember this dude called Aaron Clary had a video. I think it got deleted, the video. I have to try to look for it harder. But I know there's one video he was talking about like Tiger Woods and stuff like that. And it's just, granted, he makes a ton of videos, as do a lot of people. But it's just, and I think the biggest thing that's just is sort of, I don't know, warning against the idea of marriage is just listening to women, what a lot of them have to say. Don't get me wrong, not all women are like that, but it's just the fact that if anyone is, I mean, the law kind of automatically takes their side on that stuff. I mean, there's plenty of, heck, I listen to a lot of women on the internet like Smugglana, Kirsch, Leaflet. Pretty cool people. But it's just, and heck, I imagine all 3 of those people would probably agree with me when, like, a lot of the clips I see of women seeing very, very outrageous things, I imagine all 3 of those people would agree with me, like when they're just listening to some of the horrible things that people are saying. And obviously, like, oh, it's just one individual person, but it's like there's so many people that agree with those horrible things that are being said that are just outright hateful or just insane. And it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. And like I said, anyone can answer this question. You know, regardless of what gender orientation you are. You could be the straightest person in the world or the gayest person in the world. The most bisexual person in the world. You know, guy, girl, and it's like, I don't hate women. I've been very clear about that. But it's just, I just can't see having a relationship with one. I mean, I don't wish any harm on anybody. It's just, I certainly want to speak to the contrary when I hear people advising the idea that they want to pass certain laws that would be very, well, like the idea of a bachelor tax, where if someone's single and unmarried, they have to pay, an extra tax on top of it. And then the idea is, I mean, heck, it sounds insane, or the idea of people wanting to do censorship or ban anime. Or heck, there was this one woman just outright saying that, she considers it predatory for a man to even want to have a wife at all. Let alone it's like, oh, a man wanting a trad wife is like, and it's like, that's predatory. And it's basically comparing it to forced stuff and all that stuff. And it's just, I don't know. Heck, I made a video called Ministry of Off-Brand one time where I suggested some anime and some VTubers and stuff. was going to say something else. I can't remember. I don't know. I was gonna reference a leaflet video about like why people like anime. I feel like I need to write this down. Like my memory is, I feel like my short-term memory is getting worse. Looking around for a writing utensil, I don't really see one anywhere. Oh well, I'll just hope my memory. Either way, if you guys ever watch a video and I see I'll send a link to something in the description and I don't, it just means I forgot. Remind me, let me know, and I'll, provided I can remember whatever the fuck I was talking about. But yeah, leaflet thing, heck, the Aaron Clary thing if I can find it. So I really need something to write with. Looking around for a pen, don't see one anywhere. Because there's no way I'm going to remember this. Hold on. Ow. Oh, there's a pen. Ow. Pick it up. Oh. So let's see. Aaron Clary leaflet, written horribly by the way. Anime and Ministry of Off-Brand. Ministry Off-Brand's actually a video I made probably 4 years or something ago. I don't know, I just noticed that there's some videos I feel kind of make the point I'm trying to say and just a lot of them get deleted. I don't know. Like I said, it's just... what's the best way to put it? Like, I have nothing against women, and I'm certainly still cool with the idea of talking to women, even being friends with them, and I certainly still respect them. But at the same time, I've had such bad experiences with them that it's just... I just don't see it possible for me to have a happy relationship with one, or for it to be possible to even work out. And I mean, I'm bisexual, so at least I do have another choice available. Though in general, I would say I definitely find women a lot more attractive in general. Heck, for the majority of my life, I considered myself, completely straight. Heck, it wasn't until a few years after I was officially divorced that I ever even first heard of the red pill or of Astolfo, or even started actually considering the idea of, that maybe I'm not as straight as I originally considered. That being said, I still feel like I'm not gonna just date someone to date someone. If I'm going to ever date anyone, it's definitely going to be somebody. I suppose it could probably give me... I suppose there's 2 things I want in a relationship. And I feel like women in general can't do number 1. So it kind of just I'm bisexual, but women are disqualified due to, just really horrible experiences. But there's 2 things I want in a relationship. Thing number 1, companionship with someone I trust, who's kind to me, who's doting to me, who cares about me, who would never hurt me, never betray me, who actually enjoys my company. Essentially, number 1 is companionship with someone who actually cares about me. Respects me, values me, doesn't consider me disposable. But yeah, it's in general, I kind of feel like there is no woman on the planet that could actually, provide number 1, which is just companionship of someone who cares about me and, treats me of human decency. Plus, it's just between, even in my own divorce circumstance, I never want to go through another divorce again. I never want to go through another divorce. I never want to be stuck in another legally binding contract. with an adulterous, abusive, psychopathic woman. I never want to have to worry about my child's safety while I'm at work, worrying about how much my partner is abusing or neglecting our child. And I never have to worry about having another child taken away from me, let alone, my current situation where I'm alienated from my child. I mean, granted, I'm still grateful he's doing well. He's happy, safe, healthy, well taken care of where he is. And that's all that matters. That's what matters most of all, more than my own petty feelings or anger or sadness at it. It's just he's safe. He's safe, he's alive, he's happy, he's healthy, he's doing well. He's taken very good care of where he is. And he's safe from his mother. That's all that matters. He's safe. He's safe, he's happy, he's alive, he's well taken care of, he's happy. I mean, granted, I miss him, and to some degree I feel like he's going to be taught to hate me or something. And I feel angry and sad about just not seeing him. Heck, I haven't really been able to talk to him for about a year. I haven't been able to see him in person or even give him a hug for close to 2. And like I said, for the first year and a half of the divorce, he was at least coming over on the weekends, and then the COVID pandemic happened. Though for the first 5 years of the divorce, excluding the days he came over, I probably spent a couple hours every single day sitting in his room talking to his stuffed animals. And then, of course, after the whole COVID pandemic stuff, which that lasted a year plus, went a few years of seeing him 6 or 8 times a year. And then, the past couple years have been a little an adjustment, but while I will always love him, and I do feel sad about it, I do feel I have adjusted. And at the end of the day is this. I still say the day he's born was the happiest day of my life, and he's happy and safe where he is. But it's just, why would I ever want to have another child taken away from me? Why would I ever want to lose another family? And especially, why would I ever want to deal with someone like my ex-wife again? I have a 3-inch scar on my right arm to remember my last Christmas being married to my ex-wife by. And that happened about half a year before we filed for divorce. I still thought I could save that marriage and make things work. It was Christmas, our son was playing with his toys, he was happy. And then she felt annoyed at how much noise he was making, so she started yelling and cussing and screaming and picking up his toys, breaking them in her hands, slamming them into the wall, kicking things. Obviously, a 2.5-year-old, our son was a little upset by that, started to cry a little bit. This upset her more. And then he started to walk toward her. This upset her more, and then I stepped in between them. I asked her to please stop, and then she lunged at me, and she stopped when she saw the blood coming out of my arm. She then retreated to our room. My son looked very scared. I covered my arm so it would stop bleeding, and so he wouldn't have to see it. And then I sat with my son and reassured him that everything was okay. The day my son was born was the happiest day of my life. Heck, I was talking to him even before he was born. Talking to the belly who was inside. I watched him be born. I was holding him the day he was born. I went to work. I was the only person working. And I changed his diapers, I fed him, I gave him baths, I read him books. I taught him to walk and talk. His first words were, "I love you, Daddy." I'd give him 100 hugs a day. I told him I love you a couple dozen times a day. I'd tuck him into bed, I'd read him stories, I'd sing him lullabies, took him to the doctors, took him to the park. I did everything in my power to try to be the best husband and best father I could be. Heck, the only thing I think I did as a failure as a father or a husband was I was never rich. I mean, maybe things would have been better if I had more money. But then again, in general, I kept blaming myself for everything going wrong. Kept thinking I could make things better, that I could fix things. Heck, even when we were going through the divorce, I was telling her we didn't have to get a divorce. All she had to do was, stop doing the things she was doing. Stop being violent, stop neglecting our child, stop having sex with another man, get tested for STDs. Yes, very stupid. I was still trying to save my marriage even then. Heck, even before we went in to see the judge, I told her, we could tell the judge we changed your mind so we don't get divorced. But, nope. And then a week after the divorce was official, she had gotten so bad with things that it became clear the shared custody thing wasn't going to work and that he was going to die. Within a week of her parents even finding out we were divorced, they already had us in front of a lawyer with papers for him to live with them. I know I made the right decision agreeing to that because with the things that she was doing expressly at that time, especially after the divorce, and I'd say, I could have fought for more custody. I would never have won. It would not have worked out. And the fact they already had a lawyer at that point means they were already planning that even before they even knew we were going to file for divorce. But it worked out because he's safe where he is with them. I paid them the child support, and they take very good care of him. They use the money on him. They love him as if he were their own son. He's safe, he's happy, he's alive, he's healthy. And that's all that matters. I'm very grateful to God that I have my son. Even if I don't really get to see him, I still love him just as much. And I'm just happy that where he is right now, he's happy. And that he has everything he needs. Even if apparently he doesn't need me. But at least he's safe and happy. And they take very good care of him. And that's just what I want most of all. He's being well taken care of. I mean, it's not the life I envisioned for him when he was born and I was holding him. And I never took him for granted. From day one, I cherished every memory, and I was so happy every moment. And granted, even when he was coming over on the weekends for the first year and a half after the divorce, I was so happy that he was over here. But I still felt sad even when he was here, because I couldn't stop thinking about all the rest of the week, all the other days, and all the other time that I missed out on being with him. To a large degree, I still feel like my family was stolen from me. I constantly feel like I lost my family. Heck, I don't express anything in public, but I'll see kids in public or babies in public cry or go to their dad and daddy or dad and like all that, and I'm like, I feel like I just want to drop to my knees and start crying there in public. You think I would stop feeling that way? You think I would just... But now it just... Even though... And I know I've said before I'll try not to talk, and I'll try not to talk about this. talked about his stuff enough. But it still bothers me. And it always will. I'm going to do my best to never bring this up again after this video. No promises though, but I'll still, even if I never talk about this ever again, I'll still be thinking about this every single day. Look at the way my divorce went. And even though I can say other people went through much worse, just even if what I went through is the worst that anybody could ever go through, I never want to go through that ever again. Ever. I never want to lose another family. And I'll tell you this, why I tend to be a naturally lonely person. And I can also say I married my wife for 2 reasons. 1, because I loved her. And 2, because even then it was obvious to me that she was the only woman available to be a wife and a mother. I wanted a family. And I can tell you this. Had I never met my ex-wife, I would have never had a wife or a child. And even though things turn out the way they are, I'm still so very grateful that I did wind up marrying her and having a family. I did have some happy memories. And for a while, I really did love her. And I was really happy with her, until, a lot of bad things. But I'm just so grateful that I had my son. And like I said, even though he doesn't, even though he doesn't really see or talk to me anymore, and I don't know what the future holds on that. And heck, I'm worried about the way things are in the world out there. Like, heck, we go to a fucking civil war, or World War III, or aliens invade or some shit. All those ridiculous worries. And obviously more down-to-earth worries about just general things that happen with children. I mean, I think all fathers, I think all parents, and I think any mother who isn't, my ex-wife, would probably feel the same way I do. Worried that, what if one day something happens to him? But at least I know that way everything is right now, this is the best possible path. I know if I hadn't agreed for him to be with his grandparents, he would have died before he ever turned 5 years old. It was the only way to keep him alive. But I'll tell you this. When I was married to my ex-wife, especially toward the end, but it was just... it's the loneliest I ever was in my life. Being legally stuck with someone who is just absolutely insane. And granted, I have mental health issues too. But my mental health issues is just like severely low self-esteem and depression. And I talk to myself. And I might have autism and ADHD. And maybe a few other conditions like that, but I'm not violent, I'm not mean to anyone, I'm not dangerous to anyone. Heck, for most of my life I try to live as a pacifist, even though I got bullied so much in school when I was younger. Heck, I've only ever hurt anybody in self-defense, and I've never hit a woman under any circumstances, even under self-defense. And I've had many opportunities in which I've been provoked by women and I've not done a thing to them. Heck, I remember I was like 13 years old. I had Bell's palsy. And I was like probably about 165 pounds back then. I was already like 5'11" though, but Or was I a little shorter and a little lighter? I don't really remember. But and currently I'm 201 pounds and 5'11". I think that converts to 180 centimeters, and I think I don't remember how many kilograms that is. But main point is, like, there was this really large fat girl who kept like just slapping me in the face and poking me in the eye and spitting on me and kicked me in the nuts a couple times and throwing punches at me, and I didn't hit her a single time, but that was back when I was 13, so it's like 25 plus years ago. I mean, I guess it probably sounds a bit misogynistic of me, but I just really dislike the idea of, hitting or hurting a woman. I mean, granted, there would be some circumstances, like, say, if you're a police officer and there's like a woman bank robber, I mean, and she's gonna like shoot hostages. I mean, are you not gonna shoot her just because she's a woman? I mean, that's not very fair to the hostages. But I don't know. I feel like that's an odd discussion. But it's just, I don't know. I like violent video games. I like violent movies. I read stories like Edgar Allan Poe. But I don't like the idea of hurting people. I'm only willing to do such a thing if, it's defense of self or defense of another. I suppose I would just be called a pussy and coward for that, but that's just who I am, and I really don't want to change on that. I don't want to be violent toward anyone. I mean, I'd be willing to be violent against somebody in self-defense, but I'd rather they just not attack me in the first place. I mean, again, like when not let's say Call of Duty, but the new Halo game, they're about to do a new remaster that's going to be on the PlayStation 5. I mean, there's a lot of shooting people in that video game. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I've played Grand Theft Auto games, and Tekken, and Fear, and all sorts of games, and those are a lot of fun. I enjoy them a lot. But I'll tell you this, no matter how much I would ever play like Mortal Kombat or Doom or any violent, gory game, I don't want to hurt anyone ever. I'd only be willing to do so if there's absolutely no choice. If it's, to protect myself or to protect someone else. Though I'd say in general my default attitude about stuff is more so just emotional withdrawal when it comes to if something's being aggressive. I mean, granted, my parents quit drinking when I was like 11 and a half or 12. But, I mean, anytime, adults were drinking and there was a lot of arguing and fighting, there was a lot of times where I would just hide. I would just sort of hide inside my toy chest. It's a good thing I didn't lock. Otherwise, would have been a much closer retelling of the Binding of Isaac. That being said, I'll say this. My mom is a good mom. And I love my mother very much. Heck, I say the two people in the world I love and trust, love and care about the most would be my mother and my son. Heck, it's a miracle my mom's alive. 15 plus years ago, my oldest sister died of a brain aneurysm. And about 8.5, going on 9 years ago, my mom had like 3 strokes and an aneurysm. But she made a full recovery after 4 months. So I'm grateful for that. I have a lot of fond memories. My mom read me books when I was younger. She cooked food in the kitchen, and I would sit in there and talk to her. Played the original Spyro the Dragon and Mario 1 and Mario 3. And in general, she was there for me. And I mean, she's not perfect, and she certainly has said and done things I take issue with over the course of her life. But all that amounts to is I don't see her through rose-tinted glasses. I acknowledge her for everything she is, without making any apologies for it, without ignoring the things that are not the best about her. Acknowledge every flaw she has. But despite that, I wouldn't trade her for any mom in the whole world. And I love my mother very, very, very much. I care about her a lot, and I love her very much. But it's just... I look at the way my divorce went, and it's just, why would I ever want to go through it again? And like I said, like the thing with my coworker or all these people on the internet, like talking about their experiences, and of course I see so many people in real life going through divorces too, and it's just so many of them go through so much worse than me. I mean, like I said, my coworker is like he has 6 kids. He was married for like such a long time. I mean, if things go bad enough on this stuff, is he going to kill himself? I mean, and like I said, $5,000 just for a deposit on a lawyer? Just a deposit. That's insane. I mean, the way I look at it is like, it's like I went through a minefield and I got a couple third-degree burns, but didn't lose anything, and I can still function okay in society and be okay. And people were saying to me, oh, you should get back out there on that minefield. Go back out there in that field of, the landmines. Because, I mean, you look how lucky you got off. Most people either die or are missing limbs or completely blind or have their faces ripped off or are missing organs or in wheelchairs. And I'm like, you're not making the point of trying to convince me to go back out there. Like, what I went through was bad enough that I never want to go out there. And you're telling me, oh, that I should stop being such a big baby, that most people either die or get horribly wounded and hurt 1,000 times worse than me. So that's having the opposite effect of just making me feel even stronger. I should never go through such a dangerous situation again. But it's also just, you hear all these people saying these flagrantly misandrous things against men, like the most hateful things. And a lot of times if you even just, you're not even saying anything hateful about women, you're just calling them out for saying such horrible things about men. And then they'll say, oh, you must hate women, you must hate equality, you must hate, you must be a misogynist, you must hate women, you must be like some sort of sexist, chauvinist pig or something. And it's like, no, I don't hate women, I don't wish anything harm on women. But it's just like, they're saying really horrible things. And I mean, like I said, they're wanting to support the idea of laws, saying like, there's women saying they want to have a law where it's like, single men, basically the air quotes incels, should be required to give more to society because they don't have kids. So the idea is that anyone who's an incel should have to pay additional taxes, if not like child support, for women that they've never even met. I mean, that seems insane. Or like you have that one woman saying the idea like, oh, if a man wants a trad wife, that's predatory. Heck, she's even saying like, if a woman wants a trad wife, I mean, if a man wants a trad wife, like, oh, that's basically marital rape, and talking about like a marital rape that issue. Like, well, I understand that's an issue that does exist, but I feel like a lot of things you see in movies when it comes to like men being abusive to women and stuff, or any of that stuff, like obviously that does exist, but I feel like in real life it's so much less, like a very rare thing. And I feel like the movies and stuff are based like propaganda, trying to basically make a point to justify everyone just hating men and like, oh, all men are just abusive and you know all men cheat and beat wives and stuff like that. But it's like, no. And then it's just, I don't know, it's just like she's making the case like marital rape, like this is like, but it's like like toward the end part of, and of course, I got checked myself for STDs after the divorce, and again the next year, and again a year after that, just in case. But my wife raped me a couple of times. Now, granted, we had lots and lots and lots of sex most of our marriage. Like, the only time we really didn't have sex was like for the first month or so after she gave birth to our only child, my son, because she had an episiotomy. She didn't have a C-section, but did have an episiotomy, so the doctor was very clear that she couldn't have sex for the first month. Aside from that, the only times we really didn't have sex was either if I was sick, or like we didn't have sex the day I got the 3-inch scar on my right arm, because, I felt kind of upset about that, and I didn't want to touch her. But, yeah, for the most of, and it wasn't until, like, there was open adultery, and her basically going out and getting raw dogged and cream pied by another man, that I was like, I don't want to touch you anymore because that's gross and disgusting. Now, granted, apparently she was also doing a bit of adultery before that with other people, but I didn't know about that. However, once it got to the point of, she's doing stuff, I know about it, and we are, filing for divorce, at the point, like, we're filing for divorce. We're, like, at the point where I'm talking about, like, where she forced herself on me. We were already filed for divorce. She was still living with me since, she needed a place to live at the time still. And of course, I didn't want my son to be in a situation like that. So I do what I could to manage collateral damage, and most of all, to be able to still take care of my child. Though she did leave me a few times during that time. Like one time she left for about a week to go 100 plus miles away to go to the guy she was with, his dad and stepmom's house, where she spent like the week neglecting him. And then like a few weeks after that, went to a hotel in that same area, 100 plus miles away from here, where, aside from day 4 when I was trying to beg to take my child back home, for the 5 days he was there, he did not get to see sunlight. And they were just in a motel room, basically just having sex in front of him. And the main reason why I was able to come get him on day 5 is because apparently the neighbors at the motel area apparently were starting to complain to management because they thought my son was a dog that was getting abused. I don't know what the reaction would have been if they'd known it was a, human child. And then, of course, like a day or two, I think, before it was either the day or the night before, the day before that she left to go live with these people in a really big city. Like, it was like 30, 40 miles away from here in the opposite direction of the guy she was fucking. But it was like the day before that, for the divorce, and was being official, seeing it for the judge, and but yeah, it's just sort of left with my son, and of course, within a few days after the divorce was official, she was kicked out of that place by those people, and had to go over to her parents where her 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 parents were the one telling me the condition he was in. He basically had eaten half a banana over the course of the past week, and to the point my normally very picky son was like eating everything they put in front of him. And both him and his clothes were just reeking of piss. I mean, all of these things I'm saying, like, there is a large degree of anger, but at the same time it's also just, I feel more sad than angry, to the point that I just sort of want to shut down. And obviously she was continuing to go more insane, threatening to kill me, to kill other people, to run away with him. And of course she had proven that she was going to be absolutely outright negligent to him, and she was completely psychotic. So, and of course at that point, a couple days after that, basically a week after we were officially divorced, they had us in front of a lawyer where there was papers for him to live in their custody. And I never asked them to get a lawyer. I never would have even suggested. I had never even thought of the idea. They did all that on their own. And then when that paper was put in front of me, it's just, I can agree to this, and my son will be safe. And I'll still get to see him and talk to him, and he'll be happy and alive, and I can protect him. Or I can disagree with this and try to fight it in some degree, at which point he would have to pay the price of me trying to fight it. In the end, if I didn't agree, it would have caused him nothing but suffering, and he would have died before he ever turned 5 years old. So I simply had a choice. Do I want my son to live or die? And I chose I wanted him to live. I was basically given an option. Agree, he lives. Disagree, he dies. So, and like I said, they take good care of him. I don't really understand why I'm alienated from him at the moment. It's funny, like, at the moment he doesn't really seem to want to see or talk to me, and has even said so to me on the phone. And I don't really understand that. It makes me upset. Though my response to him when he said that was, I love you. I don't understand. I want to see and talk to you. But, oh well. He's alive, he's safe, he's happy, he's healthy. That's what matters most. That's what matters most. As a father, that's just the main thing I wanted to do. I just wanted to do what was best for him. And what was best was his mother not being able to run away with him. Otherwise, I probably would have never seen him again, ever. And he probably would have been buried in some field somewhere. So I did what was necessary to protect my son. He is alive because of the choices I made. And I've thought about it over and over, looked at everything in hindsight. And I know that if I had done or said anything differently, he would have never survived. Heck, it's a good thing we did get divorced. Otherwise, we both would have died. It would have... Heck, I remember, I think it was a couple years ago or so, having a dream about like, what if I had stayed married to my ex-wife? Well, we probably would have had another child, and probably around the time that, that dream was really vivid. And the dream basically it consisted of her killing me and the two children. Granted, it was a dream, but the point of bringing that up is I'm more scared of my wife than, a fucking cryptid or a creepypasta monster or an SCP. I would be less scared of a random person in front of my house with a machine gun than I would of my ex-wife. And granted, I was always physically stronger than her, but it's just... Heck. The last couple years of my marriage, I basically got used to the idea that being yelled at every day and being told every single day how much she hates me and, I should die and all that stuff. But then again, that's fine. Most of high school and, most of school, especially younger, I was told that over and over by everyone in school. Heck, I'd say over the course of my life, I've probably been told to go kill myself at least over 1,000,000 times. So, heck, I remember when I was at school, I got told so many times how ugly and worthless, how much everyone hates me. And then again, I got my ass kicked so many fucking times. But, oh well, there's other people that got bullied in school. But it's weird to have to come home and walk on eggshells around your own wife, to where you feel like the person's just going to yell at you and insult you and say horrible things to you. Like every day is just nonstop verbal abuse. And it's just a week after we were officially divorced, I signed that paper for him to be in custody of his grandparents. A week after that, the guy she left me for ditched her. And a week after that, she was begging me. She literally even got on her knees in public, begged me to remarry her. She was saying we didn't even have to go to the church. We could just go back to the courthouse. She was wanting to go and sign documents and become legally married again that same day. And she was so shocked when I told her no. I was willing to do everything I could to try to save my marriage. But at that point, we're already divorced. And heck, I don't even have to worry about dealing with you in regards to custody. Because my son's with your parents. So it's not like you're even able to use my own child as a hostage and a bargaining chip and a weapon against me. And that's another thing. It's just, as much as there's an issue about stuff right now, at least I know he's safe where he is. At least he's well taken care of where he is. But I also know the amount of stuff I'd had to deal with her. Even if it was an issue of me having custody of him, she'd be nonstop probably harassing me and him. Heck, for the first few years after the divorce, she'd keep finding ways to message me, and she'd be like, "Who are you dating? Who are you dating? Whoever you wind up dating, you better not bring them around our child." And it's what the fuck? What business is it of yours? You're the one who insisted upon the divorce, and you're the one who was cheating on me. You're the one who was abusive and psychotic. You're the one who was violent toward me and hated me. You're the one who was negligent toward our child. What right do you have to care or ask anything? Heck, a few months ago, she wound up messaging my mother and my sister. The one sister I have that's still alive, anyway. Asking, oh, can I have... It's can you ask your brother, can you ask your son about the Magic the Gathering decks he has? Because I do have Magic the Gathering decks. But she never had any, and she never even would play them with me. She was never even willing to actually sit and play the fucking game with me. But apparently some guy she's banging lately, she wanted to impress him with that, so she wants to try to get those cards. And even then, she also wants to just take an extra jab to just be like have an excuse to try to say something to me. And it's like toward the end of our divorce. But yeah, like I said, 3 weeks after we were official, she tried begging and growling, asking me, and then for those next couple of years, like I said, she would keep switching back and forth between sending me messages threatening to kill me, and then sending me messages saying, she wants to try to remarry me, or if she can move into our son's bedroom and just be a platonic roommate with me. And I'm like, what? No. Jesus. What the fuck? And it's just, what? I don't understand. What the fucking hell? And it's just, and it's like when we were going through our last couple months of divorce, and I didn't want to touch her because she's a psychopath, and she just yells at me every day and just constantly saying the worst, most vile insults to me. Like every time she opens her mouth, it's just saying something horrible to me. And also, she's having lots of unprotected sex with another man that she's planning to marry because she's such in a rush to want to divorce me because she's wanting to try to marry him as soon as possible and start another family. And she's even purposely trying to get pregnant by him. Also, at that point, she admitted to something I already knew about, but before that, she was also, lying about taking birth control because she was wanting to try to get pregnant again. Anyway. But I was like we were still having sex, but I was being very careful with the condoms just because, I saw she was being with our son, so I was like, well, I don't want to put another child through that. Just need to prioritize, maybe things will get better and maybe we can trust things in the future, but it's just like, it's fucking awful. It's fucking horrible. And it's just, but it's like, I like, for most of our marriage, we had tons and tons and tons of sex. But then, toward the end, we're filed for divorce. She's divorcing me. She's having tons of unprotected sex with another man. And she's also a violent psychopath. I didn't want to have sex with her anymore. And a lot of times she'd wind up just wanting sex and I'd tell her no over and over. And then she'd just wind up forcing herself on me, at which point it's like, okay, at least put a condom on and we'll wind up doing stuff. But it's like, at that point, it's just, there's no fucking choice in that situation. But it's like, I think I had every right to not want to have sex with my wife in that circumstance. We're already filed for divorce. She's a violent psychopath. She constantly says really mean things to me. I don't want to get her pregnant again with, another child that would be taken from me. Plus, be abused and treated the way she treats people. But above all is this. She was cheating on me. She's having unprotected sex with another man, and I thought that was gross and disgusting, and I didn't want to touch her at all. But she didn't want to take no for an answer, so heck, also around the time that we were actively filed for divorce, and I was waiting for stuff to be finalized with the judge, I'd be at work because I was the one who worked or paid for anything. And I'd come home from work and find, at that time I was doing a first shift job for that little bit of time, and it's just, she'd just have him locked in his room the whole day. I came home one day and it was just like she hadn't even checked on him the entire day. At some point, he had shit his diaper, taken off, put it aside, smeared his shit all over the windows, the walls, his bed, his floor, his door. And you can see it on parts of the door, like he was trying to scratch his way out. He's trying to pull on the doorknob, trying to basically run. And you can tell he basically been yelling and screaming and crying the whole day for Mom to let him out. Or, to clean the drying shit off his body. At which point, I come home. Find him in his room, just laying in the middle, covered in dried shit. His face is red from how much he had cried. And he's not breathing. He's not breathing. My son is not breathing. And several minutes go by in which, he's not breathing. And I'm just on the ground on my knees next to my child, which what appears to be the corpse of my dead son, who is still not breathing. I pick him up in my hands, and the mix of emotions I felt at that time were very, very... they were not fun. And then he opened his eyes. He looked me right in my eyes and said, "Daddy, I love you, Daddy." At which point I stood up, took him to the bathroom, gave him a bath, scrubbed him up. Then I got a bucket with some soap water, went to his room, found a spot that wasn't dirty. I made up some stories with like Winnie the Pooh and Brave Fencer Musashi and various video game characters and Spyro the Dragon and stuff to keep him entertained while I was like scrubbing his room up. After that, I got him something to eat and took him to the park. Looking back at that, I'm not sure if he actually was dead or not. Like, I feel like maybe he did die and God just resurrected him. I appreciate that. If he had... granted, I wouldn't say grown numb to certain feelings, but I feel like I've had some time to reflect on how I feel about that, to at least be more capable of not feeling point being, if he hadn't opened his eyes and been breathing, and if he was actually dead, I was going to kill everyone. I don't think I can describe how very badly I felt at that moment. Everyone was going to die for what they fucking did at that point. However, he was alive, so I went back to the original plan, which was endure what I consider to be emotional torment so that I could manage collateral damage enough to be able to at least have shared custody by the time we get through the divorce. And so I could make things, at least, because eventually I got to the point I give up on the... But it's just, and even then, at that point, when we went to the judge, I'd still meant it, though. That if she was going to change, we didn't have to get a divorce. I guess part of me was just still really scared about, even if we have shared custody, what's going to happen at that point. But to a degree, I was still naive. Not about that, but about whether or not he would even live to survive custody, because after the divorce was official, she just went even more mask off, and just how fucking insane she was, and the things she was saying, and how she was treating him, and even threatening to just disappear and run away with him. And yes, while that stuff can be used against her in case of, getting custody, the biggest thing is this. It would have been ignored. The police and courts wouldn't have helped on anything. And by the time it was actually shown, where everyone could see, by that point, it would require her being alone with him more and putting him in more danger. By the time things would be at the point that I'd get custody, he'd already be dead. Plus, there's always that worry about, well, at that point, what kind of strange people is she going to bring around him? And I think I have a right to care about that sort of stuff. Whereas I think I've made the point about why she doesn't have the right to care. The biggest thing that really hurt about the way she was about stuff is that I really did love her when I married her. And I've already explained in full in videos about how I initially met her and how we wound up getting married and all that. I've already explained that in full. But it's just, I never want to go through any of that ever again. And the funny thing is that for most of my life, I got rejected so many times. I asked out so many women IRL, in real life, face to face. And that's not even counting the times I tried online dating in the past. And heck, even after I got divorced, I couldn't help it. I would start asking women out. Heck, I remember a few community posts where I talked about some of my experiences with that. Just, though, non-stop rejection on that. Heck, I'm pretty sure over the course of my life, I've probably been rejected by probably over 10,000 women in face-to-face. But, I guess I can understand. I'm not attractive. I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm weak, I'm poor, I don't have money, and, well, also I guess maybe, as much as I might hide having depression, most women probably don't want to date a person with depression. Also, I have other holdovers from things with my childhood or with the way people treated me in school as far as the bullying, where, if you raise your arm around me, I will flinch as if you're going to punch me. I try to hide that, but because, it's embarrassing. But I know about a month or two ago, my mom was bringing up, that if Dad dies, she'd have to come live with me. And I'll say this, while I'd prefer she have her own place, I love my mom very much, and I'd never let her be homeless. Though, I'd probably convert my son's room into a room for her. Though the glow-in-the-dark stars on the wall, I refuse to take those down. Those stay up forever. Though his room is currently still the way it was back when he was 2. Heck, that room has been like that since, 2016, 2017? I don't really remember anymore. My mom's been there for me on a lot of things. And heck, when I was 12 or something, we got in a car accident. She leaned over me because the car that hit us went directly in the passenger side where I was. It was a little tiny little blue truck. My dad, well, technically stepfather, but I consider my stepdad my dad. He was in the driver's seat, Mom was in the middle, and I was in the passenger. And, well, we slid on some ice into oncoming traffic. So the oncoming traffic was going to hit me directly on. And my mom leaned over me and protected me. If she hadn't done that, I probably would have died then. Then again, I probably had like 100 plus things that should have killed me at this point. Though, while I am very grateful my mom saved me and stuff, I did feel a bit scared when we, woke up from being uttered unconscious because, it cut her forehead a bit. Like part of the skin on her forehead was over to the side, and I could see the white of her skull. And I mean, I'm glad she saved me, but I was really worried and sad for my mom. And heck, about slightly over 2 years ago, I had a bladder surgery. My mom went with me to the surgery thing, and she spent 3 days, 3 nights over here to watch over me. We watched some Conan the Barbarian and some Jackie Chan movies. She went to Burger King, got us some Whoppers and stuff, and I really appreciated that she was here for me on that. And I did enjoy spending time with her, but it would have been nice if it was under better circumstances. I was still in a lot of pain from the surgery, but I do love my mom very, very much. And I suppose regardless of whoever I date in the future, like I said, I'm bisexual, but regardless if it was a man or a woman, I wouldn't exactly be bringing them around my mom. Or, especially if she's living in the next room, I wouldn't want to, be banging them in my room with her right next door. I feel like that'd be weird. But that's true regardless of whatever gender it'd be. So I imagine if I date someone at that point, I'd probably be going over to their place to do things. But, yeah, it's just, when ever Dad dies, if Mom has nowhere else to go, she'll live with me, because I would never let my mom be homeless. But I suppose I'm getting off topic. I suppose the thing is, what do I look for in a relationship like this? 2 things. 1, companionship with someone I trust who cares about me. 2, lots of sex with someone I find attractive. The end. That's it. I want 2 things in a relationship. I want 2 things. Thing number 1, heck, maybe we should come up with some lists. Okay, list 1. Hold on, my scalp itches. Maybe I'll go get some. I think I'll get some Taco Bell after this. I think that sounds good. I think I'll get some Taco Bell. But by the way, I see apparently they have a Baja pie or something like that. That looks gross as fuck. I'm not getting that. But apparently there's a Frank's Red Hot Diablo sauce or something. That'd be really good. I like spicy foods. But yeah, let's try to come up with some lists of things. Well, because eventually I probably will. I mean, I know I'm a bit of an isolated, withdrawn individual, but heck, if you look back at my past, I didn't even have my first kiss till I was already past American drinking age. Then again, every woman I was ever in a relationship with, or even dated, period, all cheated on me. My wife cheated on me. Every relationship, girlfriend ever had cheated on me. Heck, even the girls I went on dates with, who I didn't have sex with or do anything with, they were already fucking other men. So, behind my back. So that was great. Then again, the lowest body count any woman I've ever been with had before they got with me was 9. So out of every woman I've ever had sex with, which is, 2, because I've slept with 2 people. Not counting stuff in my childhood, because I didn't have a choice about that stuff. And that stuff is other stuff that doesn't, again, count in regards to that, because, I was a small child, but whatever. Ignoring that stuff, I've been with 2 people. Both of those women out of both of those women, the lowest body count either of them had before I slept with them was 9. That being said, I do think body count does matter, regardless of gender or orientation. Like, if I start dating like a gay guy, if the person has too high of a body count, I'm not going to want to date them. Mainly because, one, it's more of a risk of STDs, and two, it kind of means they're unlikely to be faithful. And also, I feel like they probably have a great deal of psychological damage. Granted, I suppose I probably could fit a little bit in the category of psychological damage, but I feel like different circumstances, you know? I feel like sex, it's physical intimacy is a reflection of emotional intimacy. It's supposed to be with someone you care about and feel safe with. So, I feel like it's a very special bond to have with someone, and I don't think you should just do it with anybody. You know? I think it's something special that you should just do with like everyone you see. But then again, maybe that's just because I'm so fucking ugly. Maybe if I was actually handsome or something, maybe I'd be a player and I'd be like fucking everyone. Who knows? Heck. Imagine if everyone on the internet could just teleport wherever and you're like, okay, here's a million different people. And any of them you find attractive with, you can do whatever you want with. Who knows? Maybe I'd be a complete fucking whore about that then. I don't know. Maybe the only reason I'm not a whore is the fact that I'm so fucking ugly. And, been poor my whole life. And not much of a fighter, not very physically strong, not athletic. I was never a jock. I was never in football. So I was never a drug dealer. Heck, I've never smoked anything in my life. I've never done cigarettes or weed or, heck, the only prescriptions I've ever taken were stuff given to me by a doctor. I mean, heck, I went to like a big concert that lasted a few days, and one of my best, I drove there with with one of my best friends, his girlfriend, one of his friends, and that guy's girlfriend, and those 4 people in their own little hotel room, apparently just smoking a ton of weed, drinking, having 4-way sex, eating pizzas, and doing a bunch of Xanax and smoking weed. Whereas me, I'm off in my own hotel room eating chocolate muffins, Gatorade, and watching South Park. Alone in my hotel room by myself. On a side note, I am someone who likes taking 15 showers a week, but the shower there was broken. Initially, looks like it was designed to be made for somebody who was disabled in some way, like in a physical disability. But it was missing the shower head, so you just had the normal part where the attachment was, a metal tube, and then, just nothing where there's supposed to be a shower head. So it still turned on and shot water, but it was like a fucking fire hose to where you couldn't shoot against your own skin or else it would physically hurt. Like if I had tried to wash myself with it directly, it would just bruise me all over. So what it is, I took a paper plate and held that in front of it, and just water went everywhere, and I took my shower like that. There was not a square inch of that ceiling that was not dripping with water. And if I tried to talk to the people at the hotel, hey, can you fix my shower? Can you give me another room? And they're very insistent that they can't. And they weren't even willing to refund me any money or anything. So it's okay, I'm going to take a shower. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Most people would describe me as just very boring person. I prefer the idea of monogamy. I like watching anime and playing video games. And in general, my idea of an exciting day is going to walk on a bike trail. If I had granted, also every person I've ever dated wasn't willing to go walk on a bike trail with me. So that was dumb. Because I like going to walk on the bike trail. But, yeah, I suppose let's try to come up with some lists of things. But that being said, I have been alone since my divorce. Heck, I don't even remember what a hug feels like. And majority of my life, I've been alone. Like I said, I didn't get my first kiss until I was already past American drinking age. The amount of rejections I've went through. But yeah, like I said, if I had to, like, what are the two things I want in a relationship? Like, what do I seek in a relationship? Two things. One, companionship with someone I trust who cares about me. Two, lots of sex with someone I find attractive and who, I guess, finds me attractive too. So yeah, those two things. Two things I want in a relationship. One, companionship with someone I trust who cares about me. Two, lots of sex with someone I find attractive who also finds me attractive. The end. I suppose the next thing worth considering is, what things do people lose in, getting into relationships? Well, let's see. What are the negatives of relationships across the board? Well, you lose time, you lose energy, you lose money, and you lose peace. Okay. What are some reasons to specifically not date women? Well, I suppose the first thing is they don't exist. And by that I mean, well, for the most part, a woman who would, actually reciprocate or, want to date me or find me attractive or like me or actually, care about me as a person. Basically, a woman who would see me in a sort of romantic way. So I guess reason one not to date women is they don't exist. There are no women who actually would find me attractive, or who would like me, or would care about me or be kind to me. Two, death. Given everything that happens with people with divorces or laws or even false accusations or any sort of legal issues that can come of it, death. Any attempt at trying to date a woman will result in death. And I would not want to die. I may have depression, but I don't want to die. So reason one is women don't actually exist. Reason two, any attempt to date a woman will result in death. Reason three, it'd be really expensive. Heck, just the dating alone, I don't think I could possibly afford that. Heck, even trying to do so would probably result in me not being able to pay my rent, and then I'd be homeless. Let alone, what if I went through another, marriage or divorce or more children or even a legal issue, like if a woman were to be violent toward me or something and then try to. So reason one is women don't exist. Reason two, any attempt at dating a woman results in death. Reason three, it's too expensive. There's no way I could ever afford it. Reason four, well, even if I were to be with a woman and be able to afford it, and, didn't instantly die from all of the bad things, well, more than likely I'd be stuck in a situation living with someone who is being verbally abusive to me again. I mean, do you want to be in a situation again where you're married to somebody who's cheating on you and being violent to you? Do you want to be living with someone who hates you and resents you and every day tells you how much they just wish you were dead? Do you want to go through verbal abuse every day? Do you want to hear someone yelling every day? Do you want someone constantly yelling at you and telling you this is wrong, that's wrong? And do you want someone who doesn't let you go to sleep, doesn't let you play video games, doesn't let you have friends, doesn't let you, read or go to the bike trail, and is constantly accusing you? Like, I remember a time where I had to work at a job I was working at, and my ex-wife thought I was cheating on her with someone. I'm like, what? I'm working. It's like, what the fuck? Though looking back, I guess it was just projection. Because at that point, she was already cheating with other people. I just did not know that. But apparently, looking back at that from awesome things I've seen in videos, apparently a lot of times people accuse people of cheating on them if they're cheating on themselves. Because they're like, oh, if I'm cheating, the other person must be cheating too, so. And I guess, okay, what's another reason? Well, divorce. I don't want to go through another divorce. I don't want to lose more children. I don't want to have another child taken away from me. I don't want to go through another divorce. And I'd rather avoid being in any situation where I have to sit in front of a judge. I mean, in general, I feel like I've been in good circumstances in that stuff, and I feel like anytime I've been in front of a judge, I feel the judges have been kind to me, and I feel that they have treated me fairly, but it still was an unpleasant experience for me. But at the same time, I know there's so many people out there that, like I said, that one coworker's having to pay $5,000 deposit just on a lawyer, just for a deposit. It's like, fuck. And on top of that, it's just, I know there's lots of people that go in front of judges where, they're being talked down to, and they wind up possibly even getting criminal sentences for things, getting accused of doing horrible things. And it's just, I don't want that. But it's just, I don't want to go through another divorce. Okay. Well, like if we're dating men in the future, then what's the downside of that? Like, what are the positives? What are the things that a woman is capable of doing for you in a relationship that a man cannot? Well, womb. Woman has a womb. So, a man cannot give birth to children. But I actually consider that a positive. I don't want to have more kids. So, I think it's a good thing that the person I'd be fucking wouldn't be getting pregnant. So, that's actually a positive. Okay, 2. What do women do that men can't do under any circumstance? Vaginas. A man doesn't have a vagina. But then again, I don't really like vaginas. Like, in general, I find women, like, say Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, very hot and sexy, very beautiful. But, I think I'd rather her just have a cock and balls. I think I would like a partner with a dick a lot more than a vagina. And I think I'd prefer sucking a dick to eating out a vagina. Plus, vaginas sometimes get like yeast infections or bacteria issues, or they bleed. Granted, there are some people that eat assholes too, but I wouldn't do that because that'd be gross and disgusting. Don't get me wrong, I'd fuck someone in the ass, and I'd be willing to get fucked in the ass myself. Like, both those things sound fine to me. But I wouldn't want to eat someone's asshole. Like, I wouldn't want to stick my tongue anywhere near poop. Because that's gross, and that's disgusting. But the idea of, you know, any of the type of gay sex stuff, whether sucking dick or anal, that actually is perfectly okay with me. Albeit it would be a bit of a difference. And then again, in general, any kind of relationship at all would be a difference. I mean, I'm kind of a person who has an issue of change. Again, that might be an autistic trait. In the same regard, any kind of relationship at all at this point is a change for me. I've been completely alone for such a ridiculous amount of time. Then again, I mean, I've always been talking to myself, but it's probably compounded a little bit with the isolation. Then again, it works out for Let's Plays or whatever the fuck this is, where I'm just rambling here. But yeah, main point is this. I don't really like vaginas. I like cock and balls more. And yeah, I really don't like vaginas. I don't. I would prefer someone with a cock and balls. Okay, let's see. What else is there? What can a woman do that a man can't? Boobs. Boobs. I like boobs. But at the same time, while I really do like boobs a lot, I've asked out, granted rejected by, but I've asked out a lot of women that were flat-chested, and I would have still been completely happy with them, even though they had A cups. So, while boobs are really, really nice, they're not necessary, and I would be completely happy with somebody with a completely flat chest. And I would never think less of them. Like, say if I get with, like, say a twink that I think is very attractive, and who thinks I'm attractive. Well, I'm not going to think less of them for not having titties. I'm still going to be just as happy and like them just as much as who they are. It'd be like saying, I don't know, like if you prefer someone of a certain hair color. But yeah, so I guess the main thing is like I like boobs, but I don't really mind dating somebody that doesn't have boobs, and I don't think I'd have any problems with that whatsoever. What else is there? Pretty. In general, a lot of women are very pretty, and I really don't meet, granted I'm antisocial anyway, but in general, like I have seen lots and lots and lots of women I find attractive, but I really have not met any guys I find like anything toward. Then again, also, my testosterone level has fallen off a cliff, and in general, my sex drive is just sort of dying. So I guess maybe I'm just so old that there's no point in me dating anyone. I don't know. Main point being is that, in general, like, take, again, Ivy from Soul Calibur, who looks just like Kairi from the Umineko series. I think she's beautiful. Of course, she has giant titties. That's nice too, but though if I were to date someone like that, I'd prefer she just have a cock and balls in addition to being... But again, that's just... You're looking at someone who's like drop dead gorgeous. In general, there's a lot of women who aren't attractive at all. And a lot of women who are beautiful, usually after a number of years, either they gain like 100 pounds of fat, their face changes shape, they become like... Because here's the thing. Men become more masculine as they get older. So do women. Women get more masculine as they get older. Everybody gets old. Everybody's face changes. Everyone's body composition changes. Like, it's not like I'm expecting like Starfire from the Teen Titans or Raven from Teen Titans with giant titties and abs. I mean, heck, anyone I was ever in a relationship with certainly was not someone athletic. Heck. Let's see. I would say just about anyone I was ever in a relationship with was, well, overweight. Hell. Let's see. When me and my ex-wife got together, she was like a few inches shorter than me, but she was like 143 pounds. But I think when we got divorced, she had gone up to 270 or something, which was ridiculous. It was all fat, by the way. But main point, I would say this. In terms of fatness, I would say I would just prefer someone who, like, granted, I've definitely, especially even when I was younger and had less body fat myself than I even do now, I've dated a woman who considered herself big, but I never considered her fat. And I loved her very much, and I thought she was beautiful. But again, maybe I was just a complete blue-pilled simp, or whatever you guys say. I don't know. Or maybe I was just that desperate for someone to actually love and care about me that I just looked past all that and just was happy that somebody loved and cared about me. I don't know. It's just, in general, like, but then again, I'll say this, like, I can be in public and I can see a woman like it, and she's like, oh, okay, I think that person looks very attractive, but I'm not really turned on by that person. Just not really interested. But I think that might be more of a hormonal failure on my part. So it's either a psychological issue that's not allowing me to be interested that way in people, or it's an issue of hormonal or physical health, to where, like, there's an issue with, like, hormones, testosterone level, not, maybe I'm just, it's an issue of the fact that I've gained some fat myself, so maybe the additional chub on my body is affecting myself hormonally. Maybe it's causing more cortisol buildup inside my body, and it's like killing my sex drive. Maybe the depression's gotten worse. I don't know. But I would say in general, like, I feel in general there's a lot more women, especially the general feminine aesthetic that a lot of women have. Well, it's usually more attractive than most men. Which I guess to a large degree people would say that predominantly, bisexual or not, you're a lot more straight. But though I suppose the question would be this. It's gender doesn't really dictate attraction. A lot of times it can be stuff about personality and stuff about just, because, like, what you're physically attracted. Because, of course, while personality does matter, you're not going to fuck someone's personality. A lot of times you're attracted to physical attractiveness. Now, obviously, you shouldn't be unrealistic with your expectations, but at the same time, you should also understand that a lot of times you're attracted to someone based on the way their face looks and their overall body. For example, if you go to public and you see somebody, you're not looking at their vagina or their cock. Okay, you're not deciding attractiveness based on gender. Like, say, if you went to, I don't know, whatever place you guys go to that would be considered sociable to interact with other human beings. Well, the ones that you find attractive and the ones you don't find attractive, well, I mean, you're not looking in between their legs before you make the decision. Now, granted, say if any of you out there are straight, you're like, well, obviously I'm liking the people with vaginas. But here's the thing. That's just because usually the people with vaginas have a certain aesthetic to them, and usually people with cocks have a different other appearance. But you're not seeing the person's cock, or their balls, or their vagina. You're seeing, what does their face look like? So obviously if you're a guy and you're completely straight, and you see someone, obviously if it's like, okay, that's a dude's face and that's a dude's body. But you're not at any point seeing their cock or balls. And obviously in that situation, even if you are a 100% straight man, if you met a woman who is a 100% biological woman, born as a woman, and had a vagina, but actually looked like a butch, like, what's the word for that? Like a masculine lesbian that looks masculine. I don't know the word for that. But the main point is this. Say if you're a 100% straight man and you meet someone who is a biological woman, born as a woman, born with a vagina, has, 2 X chromosomes, but she looks like a butch man who's in the Navy. Regardless of that actually being a woman, you're probably not going to want to fuck that. Probably the same regard that most heterosexual women probably would not be interested in a guy who is, I don't know, emo? Like, not aggressive? I don't know. Like a Bishonen, even though that's technically who women like in anime. So, I don't know. I don't know, regardless of what gender you are, if you saw someone who actually looked like the picture, then keep in mind, while I am representing myself as this picture, I do not actually look like this. But it's how I choose to represent myself on the internet. Some random picture I found on the internet some point in the past. Don't even remember what it's from. But regardless, like whether you're a gay guy or a straight woman, would you date this man that you see in the picture? Would you date someone who looks like that? Or if you're one of the people that is like a gay woman or a straight man, if this person were your friend, do you think they'd have trouble dating? Do you think other people would like them? Heck, do you think this person would be a good wingman at a bar? But yeah, I suppose it's just, most people, you like who you like. And obviously when it comes to longer relationships, you care about personality because you have to be around that person. But for the most part, attraction is sexual stuff based off physical appearance. At the end of the day, you're liking someone based off of, you're looking at their face, you're looking at their body. You can't see their genitals. That being said, I would say predominantly regardless of a person's physical appearance, whether they look like a twink or just an attractive guy or a woman, I'd prefer any of the people I date in the future just to have cock and balls that they were born with. And again, I don't hate women, and heck, it's just... And heck, I'll be honest, like if there was a circumstance in which I met a woman and things seemed okay, would I still probably date that person? Probably. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not going to say I'd be like completely against it. But at the same time, given the direction my mind's gone and stuff, she'd probably be someone who'd be into having a strap on from time to time. That being said, I never have been with a woman with a strap on. So, that's a thing. But again, there's still the emotional concern about things when it comes to women. So, I suppose this is just a very long way of describing that I feel very conflicting emotions. And I do feel a bit traumatized in regards to the idea of dating someone with a vagina due to how bad my marriage went. And just, common sense of just how much bad can come of, modern marriage. And how bad things can go. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, why do I exist? Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful I exist. I'm glad God chose to create me. But, take my birth. I've mentioned a couple times already, but it's just around 5 or so years before I was born, a year after my middle sibling was born, my mom no longer possessed one of her ovaries and one of her fallopian tubes. So her remaining ovary and fallopian tube were on opposite sides of her body. And then over time, those things just decided to move on their own and connect to each other, thus making it possible for me to exist. And then after I was born, my mom had her remaining fallopian tube removed. So it's God and evolution conspired to create me. But why? There is nothing special about me. I'm just some random guy who plays video games and talks to himself and works in a factory and likes to walk on bike trails. I don't know. Anyway, so this was meant to be 3 minutes. It was meant to be me just hey guys, I had a dream where I walked on a bike trail and there's a giant anime girl balloon and it went up to the heavens and her just giant anime girl legs. Her tits are up in outer space. That is one thing I do like about certain video games and animes, fan service, especially jiggle physics. Heck, do you know how many VTubers have awesome jiggle physics? You guys ever watch anime High School DxD? Okay, I guess I should just end this whatever video this has been. I guess the most important thing to ask you guys is, does anyone else like to walk on hiking trails or bike trails or anything like that? Like watching clouds and going out in the woods and stuff and just going for a walk? Who else likes to take showers? Heck, who would like to take showers with people? Because that's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to end the video. So, thanks for listening to whatever this was. Bye.